let you read that quickly while I talk about a few other things. We've been very busy for the last 18 months. We're a relatively new company. We've been pretty much drilling like crazy. And I think we've been very successful and added a lot of value in a pretty tough market. What we've managed to put together in Bulgaria is firstly access to an existing and operating CIL plant. And in addition to that, a number of advanced gold exploration assets that we believe will be able to feed mineralized material into that plant ultimately and get us to our goal of being a producer. We hope to get to the point of producing about 100,000 ounces per year and being able to sustain that over a period of about 10 years. Most recently, as Gwen mentioned, we've just announced a financing. We've got a strategic investment coming through Atlantic Gold, who spoke here yesterday, and hopefully some of you got to see their presentation. They're a group that we admire. We like their technical approach and what they've achieved, and we're delighted that they're interested in putting money into our organization as well. So just a little bit of really high-level background on the company. It's about 18 months old. We're completely focused on gold exploration. We're completely focused in Bulgaria and nowhere else. And we began in July 2017 when Velocity acquired the Rosno asset in Bulgaria. At that point, we came in as a new management team, a new board, and we immediately began drilling. We have a partnership with an established private Bulgarian operating company. And through that partnership with the company called Gurupsu, we have access to this existing CIL plant, which is fully permitted and operating. In February 2018, we somewhat expanded the nature of our relationship with Gurupsu, and we signed an exploration and mining alliance that was covering an area of about 10,400 square kilometers, more or less about 10% of Bulgaria. And everything that we do within that area, we do together with Gurupsu. So the plant exists, we explore all the assets, and hopefully we can put all of that into production. In September 2018, about 1 year or a little more than 1 year after we began drilling, we were able to put out a PEA, a positive PEA on the Rosno asset, which is the asset that we've been completely focused on for the first year or so. The economics coming out of that were really positive. NPV5 after tax of 130 million Canadian and an after-tax IRR of 33%. I should point out, though, that it was delivery of that PEA that's the method by which we earned our 70% interest in the project. So we're by no means finished there. And as we get through 2019, we're going to be expanding that resource as well as infilling what we've got already and getting it through to feasibility level studies. The strategic investment from Atlantic, I'll break that down in a few moments. Well, as I said, our aim here is to get to production, get to over 100,000 ounces per year, and to a situation where we can sustain that over at least 10 years. So the 9 million investment coming from Atlantic, it comes basically in two parts. The first part is a private placement for $3.9 million. Those are units priced at 21 cents. There's a half warrant attached, and the warrants are convertible at 25 cents. The second half comes via convertible debenture. That debenture's got a 8.5% coupon attached to it. It's a 5-year term, and it's secured on a GSA. But we have the ability to pay back that interest with shares or cash at our election. And then ultimately, Atlantic Gold can convert the debenture at a conversion price of 25 cents. This is a kind of an unusual structure. The reason for doing it was quite simple, really. If we'd simply raised this much money in a private placement, with a half warrant attached to it, we would have been looking at about 16 million shares of additional dilution. And so this is a really efficient way to get the money in without excessive dilution. On closing of this transaction, which will be in due course here, Atlantic are going to have 19.9% of the company. That's on an issued and outstanding basis. On a partially diluted basis, and that assumes conversion of the warrants and conversion of the debenture, it'll be 39.2%. But we've been able to limit their voting power to a maximum of 35% going forward. So one might ask why Atlantic wants to invest $9 million in Velocity, and Gwen you actually eloquently summarized that for us. And these are, basically they saw in what we're doing in Bulgaria exactly what they saw in Nova Scotia, probably about 3.5 to 4 years ago. And the kind of things that they're focused on are really the kinds of things that all of us should be focused on when we're trying to select projects to invest in. low all-in sustaining costs, preferably in the lower quartile, or in the case of Atlantic, in the lower decile. Low initial capex, low strip ratio, resource expansion potential, and simple metallurgy. It always helps. And every single asset that we're looking at in this belt has got fundamentally very simple metallurgy. The potential for multiple open pits, treating through a central milling facility. That was really the analogy that Atlantic saw right away. And honestly, I've been telling quite a few people over the last year that I thought what we were doing kind of looked a bit like what Atlantic was doing, and I don't think anybody was listening. But now, Atlantic turned out to be the only people that believe us, so that's good. All of this sits in an underexplored belt, much like what Atlantic have in Nova Scotia as well. Lots and lots of potential for additional discovery as well. So this is a map that Gwen was showing you. At the center of this, 10,000 square kilometers, we've got the CIL plant sitting in the center of the map. This is absolutely central to what we're doing, and quite honestly, had it not been for this CIL plant and had it not been for the partnership that we have with Korupsu, we would not have been in Bulgaria, because you just can't go into these new countries with no relationships and expect to be successful. The fact that that CIL plant is there takes away so much risk from what we're doing. I personally would not like to try and permit any kind of cyanide processing in Europe anywhere at all, and this thing is operating, it exists. It's ISO certified, it's running well, and we're really happy with it. In the surrounding area, you can see a number of assets here, some of which I've named and some of which I haven't. But the one on the right-hand side is the Rosno project. That's the one that we've been almost completely focused on so far. We've now earned our 70% interest in that project by delivering the PEA, and everything going forward here will actually now be in joint venture with Korupsu on a 70-30 basis. The three other projects that I've named, Makedonce, Sedefce, and Obichnik, those are three that, as well as kind of advancing with Rosno through 2019, we're going to be hitting these three pretty hard as well. And that's partly as a result of now having this investment into the company. We can really look at big plans and look at executing those plans without really having to worry about going back to the market and looking for more money. These projects, like every project in this region, has got some kind of resource attached to it. They've all got Soviet-era resources, lots of drilling, and we're not allowed to quote those resources, but they're enough for us to feel comfortable that when we go and drill there ourselves that we'll be able to find something. Makedonce, as an example, has got a little over 200,000 ounces at a gram. That's a nice start. We'll go in now and verify that drilling and then step out and try to expand it. Obichnik has got a little bit less drilling, but the holes that are in there have got some really interesting grades. And on top of that, we've got something of the order of 3.5 kilometers of alteration that we can see at surface. So we really see a lot of potential for that project. Sedefce is a little bit different. It's actually a very small resource of the order of 100,000 ounces, something like that. But it's on a mining concession and it's fully permitted for mining. So we've actually got some potential here for a little bit of near-term production, nothing that's going to change our lives too much, but it'll prove to everybody that we're capable of working with our partner, producing something, operating in the plant, and maybe a little bit of revenue as well, just to help things out. I want to just touch on Rosno just a little bit because we've spent such a lot of time in the last 18 months focused on that. The economics were really very positive considering the stage that we've got to. 129 million Canadian MPV5 and 33% IRR after tax. Capital costs are really manageable, and part of that is helped by having some of the infrastructure in place, but less than 100 million Canadian for capital. Operating costs very much in the lower quartile. And the PEA contemplates an annual gold production of averaging around 65,000 ounces per year, peaking at 78,000 ounces per year. So you can start to see how my outrageous claims of getting to 100,000 ounces a year are not that outrageous. You really only need to add one or two projects to that and it starts to make sense. The initial economics that we put on here, they're assuming $1,250 gold. We've been enjoying a little bit of a better gold price, and if that continues, all of these projects, like everything else in the room probably, is very, very sensitive to price, and things will start to look a lot better if the price goes up. And just to finish on Rosno, clearly we produced the PEA in October, or we put the results in September, report in October. Since then, we have been continuing to work in joint venture. In November, we put out these soil results, which we've got some anomalies here, which are untested. Also on this map, you can see the pits as they were defined in the PEA. And what we're really doing now is stepping out from those pits, trying to find some more mineralization, trying to expand what we've got there and improve the economics. The first results came back in December, in January. But this is the first 4 holes that we've drilled outside of that pit, and you can see that we hit on all 4 holes from surface all the way to the base of the sediments. And so we're starting to feel very confident that we can start to push these pits out and expand the project. Just a little bit on the structure. Now, obviously, this is going to change when we close this financing, but at the minute, issued and outstanding is 75 million. With warrants and options, we're looking at about 90 million. The share price right now is 21 cents, and market cap around 16 million. I just want to touch on the shareholdings in general and those in particular of management and board. 4 of us in management and 2 of the board members together have got 37%, kind of split evenly between the 4 of us. We also have some individual shareholders who together hold quite a lot of the company as well. So in terms of float, it's really, really tight. Probably only about 25% of the company actually trades day to day. So we'll kind of wrap that up now, and I'll give you a little bit of summary of some of the things I've been talking about. I didn't really get a chance to talk about Bulgaria, and there's probably a lot that I could say to people in the room who don't know Bulgaria. But it is a mining country. There's Bulgarian mining companies. There's some international companies there doing exploration and producing, for example, Dundee Precious Metals, who've got 2 operations in the country. So mining is not new to Bulgaria. Velocity is new to Bulgaria, and as I said, it's important to have a partner. We have an alliance with our local Bulgarian miner, Gorubsu. We have access to the CIL plant. We also have access to multiple advanced gold assets, and we're basically working with this hub-and-spoke development model that Atlantic have used to great success in Nova Scotia. I think Atlantic have proved that it works in Nova Scotia, and we think that we can now prove that it works in Bulgaria. On the financing side, with $9 million in the bank, it's nice to be able to actually make some plans and not wonder where the next $1 million is coming from. Makes everybody very happy, and we can actually focus on what we're doing and focus on delivering some value back. We've got experienced management and directors. We've got a discovery track record. I think everybody tells you that. What we can tell you categorically in numbers is that we have got a very low discovery cost, and it's less than $10 per ounce based on what we drilled at Rosno, which is great value. With our financing comes a strong technical partner. I don't want to underplay our capabilities, but most of the people working in the company are explorationists. We've all taken things through to feasibility. But having Atlantic and some of their key people and key executives there to help us transition through construction and into production will be a really big help for us. And finally, looking at news. We're fond of putting news out. Last year, we put about 24 releases out. That's 2 every month. You can expect that to be at least the case next year, possibly more. We're looking at drilling around 25 to 30,000 meters. We're looking at advanced engineering studies at Rosno, among other things, and the news will just keep coming. So if you ever want to know what we're doing, you just have to wait a week and you can find out. Okay? Thank you very much indeed.